Right guys, welcome back to the channel, welcome back to another video. In this one I'm just going to be showing you how to change the bearings in your Campagnolo Zonda C17 Freehub body. So let's go ahead, let's run through the steps. Right, so we have the Freehub body. Now, first thing we need to do is remove the bearing from this end here, which is a cassette lock ring end. So down inside there's a collar, a spacer collar, that moves between the two bearings inside like that, so it just moves around. If yours is hard to move, then just use the handle end of a small screwdriver, just put in there and push it left, right, up, down to get it to move. Don't use anything metal on there in case you damage it, and then it won't go back on your axle very easily if you put a burr on it, on that collar. So first thing we do is get this bearing out of this end. So what I'm going to do is place it down on the lock ring end on the block of wood on a hard surface. If you've got a bench, a decent bench, then use that. So what I'll do is then just offset that collar to one side so you can see the inner race of the bearing there, down in there. And then what you do is you get a punch and a hammer, just rest it on the inner race of the bearing and just give that a tap, and then we'll move the collar spacer over to the other side and give it a tap. Don't hit it all in one place because you'll hit it out crooked, the bearing won't come out as easy. Just give it a couple of taps, move it round to the other side like that, and just repeat that process. So there we have the bearing out of the cassette lock ring end. Then you've got your spacer collar down inside there like that. So then we need to get the bearing that's down in the bottom there. Right, so to get the bottom bearing in there, what you have to do is clean out inside the Freehub body first, because they're normally packed with a load of grease in there and that'll all be old and contaminated. So clean that out, and then inside down in the bottom there is a snap ring circlip in there that's holding the bottom bearing in place. So to get that out, what you need is a pair of snap ring pliers, circlip pliers, to remove that. So what you need to do is just locate that actual circlip itself, then squeeze it up together and then remove it. Before you let go of it, hold on to it in case it goes flying off and you can't find it. So there's the snap ring circlip, so then you can see the bearing in there. So what I'll do is we'll knock that one out. So to remove the bottom bearing, what we'll do is just place that down on the lock ring end like that, and then again what you do, you can see the bearing just down in there. So what you do is get your punch again and put it just down in like that, then just give it a tap, then just move it round, just knock it down a bit at a time. Until it starts to come down like that. Now what you see is it'll drop down inside the body itself, but because it's the same size bearing as in this end, the lock ring end, it won't come past this end. So what you have to do is line it up inside and get it on your finger and just line that up again with this end, and then we need to knock it on out so as it comes out through where the bearing was in this end. So just drop it down in there and get that in position. So once you've got the bearing located in this end, to do that, just put it down in a block of wood and get your punch and just go round and just tap it gently around the bearing just to get it located, making sure that it's not coming out crooked, that you're actually hitting it out straight. Once you've got it started in there, then you can carry on and knock it down through. So there you have bearing from the bottom there. Now you've got an empty Freehub body, so go ahead and clean that all up in there, degrease it and clean out the old grease, and then you're ready to go ahead and install a couple of new bearings. So when it comes to reinstalling your bearings after you cleaned everything up, what you want to do first is down in the bottom, just put some grease down in there where the bearing's going to sit, the lower one, and also just a bit of smear of grease round where the top one's going to sit, because you have to put the lower bearing through the top here to get it started. So we'll put that bit around there, and then with your new bearings, what I'm going to do, I'll just put a smear of grease around the outside of it before we put it in. And the reason these bearings go bad in these Freehubs is because you'll find that when you take the bearings out, they haven't got a dust, they've only got a dust shield on one side. The other side of the bearing hasn't got any shield on there at all, so therefore the moisture gets in. So when you order up the bearings, I'll put the size for them in the description of the video, you can purchase ones with the seals on both sides, so therefore they'll last a lot longer than the ones that come standard, because they haven't got a seal on one side, and it lets, obviously over time, lets all the dirt and grit and moisture in, and that's what ruins the bearings quickly. So what you're going to do is, after you put the grease around it, we'll just sit it in place in the top here. Obviously this one's got to go right down through, so we'll sit it there for a moment. And then what you want to do is, if you get yourself a 13mm socket, put that on the bearing like that, in the middle, we just tap that gently down, so as it goes on through, like that. So now it's falling inside the Freehub. So then what you got to do is locate it in the bottom. Once you got it located in there, then you can go ahead and put it into place. Right, so once you've got the bearing located in the bottom there, to actually get it down so it's seated in there, what you can do is put your Freehub body down like that. Then if you get yourself a 19mm socket, that fits in down inside like that, and then you can carry on and tap the bearing all the way in until it hits the bottom like that, and then you're ready then to put that circlip back in. Right, so before we put the snap ring in place, now we've got the bearing in there, I'll just put some grease over the bearing in there in the bottom, just to help keep the moisture out of it. So once you've done that, you can get your circlip, snap ring, squeeze that up and lower it right into place, and let go of it, and just check then that it is actually in the clip in the bottom. So once we've done that, we can get the spacer in there. So next thing we do is get this spacer and just put a bit of grease on the end of it, just to help stick it in place, stop it falling around in there while you're doing the top bearing. So then you just lower that down till it's sat in the right place in the centre of the lower bearing there. So once you've done that, then get your bearing for the lock ring end, put some grease around that before we put it in. And then we sit that in place. like that, and then again using your socket on there. Just tap that into place like so. So that's the bearings reinstalled. So what you do now is make sure just put some grease obviously on your axle before you slide the Freehub body on to refit it, and make sure your pulls are greased on the back as well before you refit the Freehub. So I hope you found the video helpful. If you did, remember to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel for more cycle related content. Till next one, ride safe and I'll see you then.